In this video, I'm going to be going over Canopies, which is a new expansion for the virtual instrument called Cube. And I've done a video on Cube in the past, so I'll put a link to that in the description. And the thing I got to say about this virtual instrument, first off, is that it is very unique. And it's made by a small team of programmers and musicians. And I've had a good chance to talk with them in the past, and they're just really cool guys trying to do something different. I love showing off stuff made by small teams because these are people who just have some kind of vision for a way to create sound and shape sound, and they are putting it into action. And I feel like people like that need to be rewarded for their time. So it definitely is worth your time to check this out and to make sure you go look at other demos of Cube and of these new expansions. But it is also a good time to pick it up because they've got it on sale right now. So I'll have links and all that in the description. And then in terms of the expansion itself, we can see that it's made by Benn Jordan, who I'm sure a lot of you already know about. He's an incredible YouTube creator, a musician, and just makes really high quality videos. All of the sounds that you're hearing in the expansion were captured by him and are generally starting out as something wood and metal related. So you'll see how with the software, of course, that doesn't mean they're all just percussive hits or something like that at all, but very organic sounds and then bent and mangled into all sorts of interesting ways. So we'll have a look at some of those patches. We'll talk a little bit about the software. I'll point you to the other video I've made on Cube to get a little bit more into the details of it, but also try and get an understanding of what the software is all about. So thanks to Lunacy Audio for sending it over. Let's go have a look at it and see if this is something you want to pick up. So here is a blank instance of Cube. And just to give you a quick overview of the software itself, it is all about these 8 different spots for you to load sounds. And it looks kind of like, oh, this is my head and I'm hearing sound above or below or behind me or something like that. And that's not the case at all. Basically, what this cube allows you to do is to move from one sound to another. And so you can think about it like you've got one sound up in the top corner, you've got another sound in this corner, you've got another sound in this corner, and so on. And then you can set up these orbits that will cycle between those different corners. So you could have it morphing between 2 patches. So you just have one patch in one corner, one patch in the other, and you're just going back and forth between it. And you can choose, how quickly those orbits are going from one path to the other or one sound to another. It's just a way to basically modulate between 2 different patches or up to 8 different patches. It does have a really beautiful arpeggiator built into it and a sequencer built into it, so you can hold down a note and it will play a sequence of notes, as opposed to an arpeggiator where you hold down a chord and it cycles between those different notes. So let's go look at some of the patches, and then we can talk a little bit more about the interface as we go. So click on the browser right here, and we can see our different preset packs. And if I click on Canopies, now we can see the patches that come with this expansion. If you want to see them broken down into categories, you can click on the Show Tags button right here. Let's go to some kind of pulse patch. All right, click on pulse. A sound like that could be a soundtrack in itself. Wow. Oh man. Okay, I need to record that before I forget it. great, we got our first patch. Let's call that Gleam. Let's just have a look at what is happening in this patch. Blob is kind of moving around this center area. You can actually see, okay, well, first we can go over to the sounds and see how many corners actually have sounds in them. So if I click right here, we can see that all 8 corners have sounds. Some of them are the same sound. So this one here is the same as this one right here. And you can see the different corners have letters right here, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. So if we go back to the main one, you can see that it's very slightly drifting from one corner to another. But when you see an orbit this small, we're not really getting that far into any of these corners to actually hear their sounds very distinctly. And if we click on the Orbits tab, we can make this more intense by cranking up the intensity. So now it's going to go between the different corners a lot more. It's easy to get this confused with left and right because everything looks kind of left and right, so it's not necessarily that case. But in this situation, I am hearing some sounds that are panned a little bit more over to the left. So it must have been this C sound that we were really hearing. And we can even solo the sound in that corner. Just go, all right, what is this sound? What about this one? Let's solo this one. And this corner. And this corner. Okay, that's where that noisy piano is. And it's panned over to the left as well. The more the ball gets to a corner, the more of it you hear, and the less you hear of the other ones. So when the orbit was quite small, something like this, we weren't really hearing much of a dramatic difference between the different patches. We were kind of hearing almost all of them at the same time, because if it's right in the middle, and you can see it's right in the middle by this clever little shadow at the bottom, you'll hear all of them equally. And that's just another thing that you can do with the software. And there's a lot of patches like that. So now when I crank up the intensity, we're going to hear. Click on the browser, head over to Canopies. I wonder if there is much actual percussion patches in here. Okay, we got 2. Let's try elderberries. Your father smelled of elderberries. So let's try a bass patch now. If I click right here, we get a couple of those. Let's click on the sounds themselves, and we can see it's going between A and D and G and F. Let's go back over to each one now, and we're going to have a look at this loop that's happening. And when you see the loop button on Cube, that doesn't mean loop of a sample or something like that. It actually means it's using the arpeggiator or the sequencer built in. So if we want to see the loop, we have to click this tweak button, and that's kind of like a detailed settings for each sound. And you can see that it's going through this arpeggiator, and it's playing 4 notes. One of them is pitched down an octave. And then it just keeps going over and over. So I might not want that. I might want to just play the notes in myself. So if I want to do that, all I have to do is turn off the loop. Okay, so if you wanted to turn a patch into something that wasn't rhythmic, that would be one way to do it. So let's play something in there. All right, let's make another one. Some kind of pad sound. Wow, okay. I think we might have some there, but let's just listen to a couple other patches. Beautiful. So I've made it to 2 patches, and I'm already ready to record something, but let's just have a listen to a couple more of these pads. Wow. Go on the main page, there's the macro right there, and with any keyboard CC15 is already assigned to the macro. And CC14 is assigned to this ether. And if we turn that one up, we sometimes get a subtle change, sometimes get a much more dramatic change. And then the filter is assigned to CC16. Lots of really subtle, beautiful ways to change the sound in this virtual instrument. But let's go look at another one. Oh, wow. Okay, so all I did was turn the filter down on that one a little bit. And now I've got a really deep strings kind of bass. So there really isn't an orbit on this one at all. It's just playing the sound. If we turn on the orbit, what happens? Okay. So now it's cycling between basically these two patches, but it's kind of hitting some of the other ones on the way as well. So you can see them lighting up as they get a little bit of signal passed to them. We can crank the intensity back a little bit so it's not going as far. So it's just adding a little bit more motion. And then we can change the speed of it too. Next thing I want to add in here is a little bit of percussion. So we're going to do that through a different expansion of Cube, which is called Rumble. And this one has a lot more percussive sounds in it. So we'll go over to Rumble, click on tags, and we'll go to percussion. And then we'll maybe start somewhere I haven't played around with. Let's try Precinct Pulse. I like it. It's like a 80s cop drama. Okay, so it looks like as I go up the keyboard, I get different sounds. Let's try some more. This one gives you a good example of how complex you can get with different corners in terms of their different rhythms that you have set up. So in this corner, we have this sound being triggered. Okay, let's see what's happening. And if I hold shift, by the way, I can move this ball to the back or to the front. Okay, so there is one sound that has a rhythm set up. So if I click on the sound for B, and then I click the tweak button, I can see that it's going very slowly, half notes, through these hits. Really loud, soft. Medium, softer, soft. Right, so that's how easy it is to go in and change the rhythm to create your own little patterns. And there's all sorts of presets in here. You can have much longer steps in your arpeggiator, but a very powerful arpeggiator built into the software. Make sure you go check out my other video to see a little bit more about that. And then if I click on the other corners, we can see that they've got something totally different going on. Right, so this is the bottle cap sound. Let's go to the back ones and see if that's where our complex sounds are. Okay, let's start playing around with this a bit. What happens if we go like this? Okay. Now we're getting totally different sounds. But let's just crank the intensity down a little bit so we're hearing a little bit more of everything. go back over to our presets. We're going to go to Canopies, and we're going to go to Pad. What were those sounds that I found? Oh yeah, these ones right here. So that one is our Fireflies patch. Very cool. Let's see if there's a couple leads in here we want to have a listen to. Very nice ambient patches. Oh, that's sweet. Oh, nice. Also a nice patch. Okay, let's go with the Skyline lead. So if we go to the orbit and crank it up, let's go a little faster. So if you're looking for fresh inspiration, I think this virtual instrument is a good way to go. Great sound design by Ben on these new patches. And yeah, definitely worth checking out. And doesn't just have to be soundtracky kind of ambient stuff as well. You know, there's all sorts of other sounds available in the software. Make sure you go check it out and then start imagining what you could do with these different corners and placing sounds in those different corners or using the arpeggiators and stuff like that. Anyways, thanks for watching. I'm just going to play this one out with the Skyline lead, and I'll see you in the next video. Hopefully my voice will be back to normal by then too.